Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back, my viewers, my amazing YouTube family. Welcome back to episode 2 of this new series all about Islam. So episode 1 was all about concept of God when I was reading from this pamphlet and sharing how we Muslims believe in only one creator, one God. So episode 2 is going to be all about Malcolm X, why he embraced Islam. Welcome back to another inspiring episode of All About Islam. Today we are diving into the remarkable and transformative life of one of the most iconic figures of the 20th century, Malcolm X, also known as Malcolm Little. He was born in 1925 as Malcolm Little in Omaha, Nebraska, here in New York, in America. So his journey to Islam, his sacrifices, and his lasting legacy still to this day continue to inspire millions of people all around the world. So let's talk about his early life and search for the truth. Malcolm X was born in 1925 as Malcolm Little in Omaha, Nebraska, America. His childhood was filled with hardships. His father was killed, murdered under suspicious circumstances. His mother was institutionalized. And as a young man, Malcolm fell into a life of crime. By the age of 20, he was arrested and sentenced to prison. But prison was not the end of his story. It was the beginning of his transformation, yes. While serving his time, Malcolm educated himself, reading countless books and reflecting on the injustices faced by African Americans in America. It was during his time in prison that he encountered teachings about God and he began his spiritual awakening, embracing Islam and what he had to give up to be a Muslim. After his release from prison, Malcolm X became a strong voice for change and justice. At first, he was involved with the Nation of Islam. But, however, his deep search for truth eventually led him to embrace true Islam, the pure message of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, which means in Arabic translation, now in English, there is no deity worthy to be worshipped except God Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Yes, his final messenger. So to accept Islam, Malcolm X had to give up many things, but it was all worth it. His old life of crime and street hustling, his attachment to nationalism and racial superiority, which the Nation of Islam teaches, and that's against true Islam. His public image as a man only for one group of people, because Islam taught him to see all people as equal before Allah, the God of Abraham, regardless your skin color, regardless where you were born, regardless your ethnicity. Now, let's talk about his journey to Mecca, Saudi Arabia, his pilgrimage, Hajj in Arabic, and his famous letter. Yes. So in 1964, Malcolm X performed the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca, Saudi Arabia. This was the turning point of his entire life. Yes. Because he witnessed Muslims of every race, culture, background, economical status, all together praying shoulder to shoulder. Yes, blacks, whites, Asian, Arabs, Italian, Europeans, all dressed in the same simple white garments. And that truly, truly moved him deeply. In a letter he wrote from Mecca, Malcolm X says, and I shall read, "There were tens of thousands of pilgrims from all over the world. They were of all colors, from blue-eyed blondes to black-skinned Africans. But we were all participating in the same ritual, displaying a spirit of unity and brotherhood. That my experiences in America had led me to believe never could exist between the white and non-white. America needs to understand Islam, because this is the only one religion that erases the race problem from its society." Amazing. These words show the beauty of Islam, indeed, and how it truly changed Malcolm's heart forever. Yes. Unfortunately, sadly, he was a martyr, meaning he was assassinated, he was killed, he was murdered. And yes, his life was cut short. On February 21st, 1965, he was assassinated right here in New York City, yes, while he was preparing to deliver a speech. He was only 39 years. 39. Can you imagine? I'm blessed, I'm fortunate. I've been here on earth 51 plus years. Yes, I will turn 52 in a few months, God willing, inshallah. But yes, his murder shocked the world. But his legacy did not die with him. And that's amazing. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. And this is why I'm here today, to remind you of his life, his legacy, his teachings. Malcolm X's legacy is one of truth, of courage, and transformation indeed. He went from being a prisoner, an inmate, to a preacher of justice. He went from hatred to love, from division to unity, and from ignorance to knowledge. Yes, knowledge is power when you apply and you implement it. Indeed. He left behind a message that Islam is not just a religion. No, it is a way of life that brings equality, justice, and peace. His life reminds us that no matter our past, Allah, God, can guide us to a brighter and more meaningful future. I'm going to read you a pamphlet that I got a few years back. Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz. 25 years after his death, Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, still towers above the Statue of Liberty. He refuses to die. Wherever injustice and oppression takes place, his smiling face and uncompromising message fills the atmosphere. Yes, they killed the body, but not the spirit. When he was alive, Brother Shabazz was the most feared man in America and the most loved. The situation hasn't changed up to this day, 2025. You just say the name Malcolm X and there's millions of people that smile just thinking about him and remembering him. For the deprived and the oppressed African Americans, Malcolm, Brother Shabazz continues to be the hero, the inspiration that makes it possible for them to maintain the sanity and dignity in a vile society which can't stop despising them. We as Muslims are often angered to see Brother Shabazz identified as a black nationalist rather than a Muslim. Yes, indeed. That was his past when he was with the Nation of Islam. He was a nationalist. But after he embraced true Islam, he was a Muslim, no longer a black nationalist. While the anger is justified, we must understand that people generally emphasize the aspect of a leader's life which is in harmony with their own aspirations. While some African Americans will continue to invoke the nationalist side of Brother Shabazz, it is for us to see that his Islamic personality is projected to the world. So people know about Islam, about true Islam, which is teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah, which are the books of Ahadith, authentic narrations from the prophets, teaching us what is submission to God, aka Islam. The pilgrimage to Mecca. When he was in Mecca, Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz wrote a letter to his loyal assistants in Harlem, right here, Harlem, where I live, New York City. And he wrote this letter from his heart. Never have I witnessed such sincere hospitality and overwhelming spirit of true brotherhood as is practiced by people of all colors and races here in this ancient Holy Land, the home of Abraham, Muhammad, and all the other prophets of the Holy Scriptures. For the past week, I have been utterly speechless and spellbound by the graciousness I see displayed all around me by people of all colors. I have been blessed to visit the holy city of Mecca. I have made my 7 circus around the Kaaba, led by a young mutawaf named Muhammad. I drank water from the well of the Zamzam. I ran 7 times back and forth between the hills of Mount Al-Safa and Al-Marwa. I have prayed in the ancient city of Mina, and I have prayed on Mount Arafat. There were tens of thousands of pilgrims from all over the world. They were of all colors, from blue-eyed blondes to black-skinned Africans. But we were all participating in the same ritual, displaying a spirit of unity and brotherhood that my experiences in America had led me to believe never could exist between the white and non-whites. America needs to understand Islam, because this is the one religion that erases from its society the race problem. Throughout my travels in the Muslim world, I have met, talked to, and even eaten with people who in America would have been considered white. But the white attitude was removed from their minds by the religion of Islam. I have never before seen sincere and true brotherhood practiced by all colors together, irrespective of their color. You may be shocked by these words coming from me, but on this pilgrimage, what I have seen and experienced has forced me to rearrange much of my thought patterns previously held, and to toss aside some of my previous conclusions. This was not too difficult for me. Despite my first convictions, I have always been a man who tries to face facts and to accept the reality of life as new experience and new knowledge unfolds it. I have always kept an open mind, which is necessary for the flexibility that must go hand in hand with every form of intelligent search for truth. During the past 11 days here in the Muslim world, I have eaten from the same plate, drunk from the same glass, and slept on the same rug while praying to the same God, Allah, with fellow Muslims whose eyes were the bluest of blue, whose hair was the blondest of blonde, and whose skin was the whitest of white. And in the words and in the actions and in the deeds of the white Muslims, I felt the same sincerity that I felt among the black African Muslims of Nigeria, Sudan, and Ghana. We were truly all the same brothers, because their belief in one God had removed the white from their minds, the white from their behavior, and the white from their attitude. I could see from this that perhaps if white Americans could accept the oneness of God, then perhaps, too, they could accept in reality the oneness of man and cease to measure and hinder and harm others in terms of their differences in color. With racism plaguing America like an incurable cancer, the so-called Christian white American heart should be more receptive to a proven solution to such a destructive problem. Perhaps it could be in time to save America from imminent disaster. The same destruction brought upon Germany by racism and eventually destroyed the Germans themselves. Each hour here in the Holy Land enables me to have greater spiritual insights into what is happening in America between blacks and whites. The American Negro never can be blamed for his racial animosities. He is only reacting to 400 years of the conscious racism of the American whites. But as racism leads America up the suicide path, I do believe from the experiences that I have had with them that the whites of the younger generation in the colleges and universities will see the handwritten on the walls, and many of them will turn to the spiritual path of truth. The only way left to America to ward off the disaster of racism inevitably must lead to. Never have I been so highly honored. Never have I been made to feel more humble and unworthy. Who would believe the blessings that have been heaped upon an American Negro? A few nights ago, a man who would be called in America a white man, a United Nations diplomat, an ambassador, a companion of kings, gave me his hotel suite, his bed. Never would I have even thought of dreaming that I would ever be a recipient of such honors. Honors that in America would be bestowed upon a king, not a Negro. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. Sincerely, Al-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, Malcolm X. This is from the autobiography of Malcolm X, with assistance from Alex Haley, the author of Roots. The movie, you've seen it? Roots. You have to watch that movie. Malcolm X saw and experienced many positive things. Generosity, open-heartedness were qualities which were impressed on him by the welcome which he received in many places. He saw brotherhood and the brotherhood of different races, and this led him to disclaim racism and to say, I am not a racist. In the past, I permitted myself to be used to make sweeping indictments of all white people, the entire white race, and those generalizations have caused injury to some whites who perhaps did not deserve to be hurt. Because of the spiritual enlightenment which I was blessed to receive as a result of my recent pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca, I no longer subscribe to sweeping indictments of any one race. I am now striving to live the life of a true Sunni Muslim. I must repeat that I am not a racist, nor do I subscribe to the tenets of racism. I can state in all sincerity that I wish nothing but freedom, justice, and equality, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all people. Malcolm X was vehemently anti-white. That's the way he was taught as a black Muslim. But his trip to Hajj, Mecca, Saudi Arabia, changed all of that. Thank Lord. He came to see that all men are equal, regardless of their color. True anti-racism is colorblindness. That is what he preached on his return to the United States. And that is why he was assassinated. While he preached separatism, keeping people aware of color differences, that was okay. Blacks versus whites is an acceptable dialect. But when Al-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz started to preach the oneness of God, Allah, and the equality of all races, and he was prepared to act in any lawful halal means necessary, he had to go. They had to get rid of him. Truth versus falsehood is an unacceptable dialect. Islam believes in the unity of the human race. Islam says that all mankind are the creatures of one God. They are all equal. Division of color, class, race, or territory are sheer illusions. And ideologies which are based on such distinctions are the greatest menace on earth. Humanity is one single family of God. There can be no sanction for these barriers. Men are one and not white or black, Aryan or non-Aryan, Occidental or Oriental. Islam is based on the universal brotherhood of man and practices universal brotherhood of man. But the importance of this concept is of great value, as it is the only solution to national and international problems. This is said to be age of freedom and restoring unto every man his dignity, and despite all the phenomenal changes in the political stage of the world, our age is still unable to think in terms of human dignity. And this is the dark specter of social concern of our time. For despite man's conquest of space and mastery over the forces of nature, man has not been able to rid himself of the primal prejudice of race and color, unfortunately. The stark reality of our time has brought in its trail a great desolation and frustration as we find ourselves face to face with chaos, wars, the miserable conditions of living of the masses of mankind, and the exploitation of one nation by another. And this leads to selfishness, fear, hatred, class, tribe, and race discrimination, and subsequently the division of man against man is the order of the day, even in the so-called socialist countries. Islam's greatest contribution to mankind was the abolition and extinction of distinction based on race and color. The Quran declared, mankind were one community. Then they differed among themselves. So God raised prophets as bearers of good tidings and as warners. That's in the Quran chapter 2, verse 213. O mankind, we have created you from a male and a female and made you into nations and tribes so that you might get to know each other. And the most honorable, the most righteous, the most pious among you in the sight of God Allah is he or she who is the most righteous. God is all-knowing and wise. That's in the Quran, chapter 49, verse 13. So, from these two verses that I just recited, it is clear that the whole of humanity from its diverse races was originally one, deriving its existence from one creator, one and only Allah, and that all barriers that separate humanity by race and color must vanish, disappear, and the superiority of a person is to be judged by his or her conduct only, meaning how he treats others, how he behaves, how she lives her life. A good Muslim considers himself a fusion of all races. Anyone who enters into the fold of Islam becomes part and parcel of this fraternity, forgetting all pride and prejudice. On the basics of this principle, Islam seeks to build an intellectual, moral, ideological, and international society as against the existing tribal, racial, linguistic, and national societies which have turned the world into a racial color holocaust. Islamic Brotherhood. No other society has such a record of success in writing and in uniting in an equality of status, of opportunity and endeavor, so many and so varied races of mankind. The great Muslim communities of Africa, India, Indonesia, perhaps also the small communities in Japan, show that Islam has still the power to reconcile apparently irreconcilable elements of race and tradition. If ever the opposition of the great societies of the East and the West is to be replaced by cooperation, the mediation of Islam is an indispensable condition. The extinction of race consciousness as between Muslims is one of the outstanding achievements of Islam. And in the contemporary world, there is, as it happens, a crying need for the propagation of this Islamic virtue. How, for instance, can any other appeal stand against that of the Muslim who, in approaching the pagan, says to him, however obscure or degraded he may be, embrace the faith, and you are at once equal and a brother. Islam knows no color line. The legacy of Malcolm X. Malcolm X was born into Christianity as Malcolm Little and died in Islam as Malik Shabazz. This is something to think about and is an expression of his legacy. Malcolm X went through the transition period of the religion of the Nation of Islam, a religion of American origin, borrowing some terms from the Muslim culture of the East. For information about differences between Islam and the so-called Nation of Islam, request the brochure Islam and Farrakhanism Compared and the booklet Islam or Farrakhanism. It appears that Malik Shabazz went through 5 stages in his short life. The first stage was his childhood under the shadows of his religious parents. The second stage was his adolescence to youth until his moving out to Harlem, New York. This was a rowdy and irresponsible stage in his life. In Harlem, he began the third stage of his life, which eventually landed him in prison. The fourth stage of his life was in the Nation of Islam, which was not real Islam. In the Nation of Islam, on one side, Malcolm was a very disciplined man. On the other side, he became a black racist, a separatist, and a demagogue. In the fifth and final stage of his useful life, Malik Shabazz reached the apex, which he could only achieve in real Islam, not in the cultic Nation of Islam. Malik Shabazz entered the real Islam as a result of his journey to Mecca, Saudi Arabia. In Islam, he became moderate and conciliatory. He shared his racism. The legacy of Malcolm X is the real Islam taught to us by the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing of Allah be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Prophet Muhammad of Arabia, not the racist cult of the Nation of Islam, presently led by Louis Farrakhan and others who branched out of the old following of Elijah Muhammad. However, Elijah's son, Wallace D. Muhammad, now known as Imam Waris Deen Muhammad, moved away from his father's religion. He is coming to the real Islam adopted by Malik Shabazz, for which Malcolm was assassinated. Malik Shabazz shall be remembered by all Muslims as a martyr for the cause of Allah. If you want to know more about real Islam, followed by Malik Shabazz in his last days, Call or write to the following address and phone. Published by the Institute of Islamic Information and Education. P.O. Box 410129, Chicago, Illinois. Beautiful. Amazing. Yes, indeed, he has left us an amazing legacy. Malcolm X, Malik Shabazz. Amazing. So yes, Malcolm X was searching for a pure form of faith, and in Islam he definitely found it. La ilaha illallah. So there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. And this message freed him from man-made ideologies and gave him clarity and direction indeed. Yes. So as a black man in America, he had witnessed and suffered racism all his life. But in Islam, he found a system where skin color, race, and background mean nothing. Only piety, what's in your heart, that's what matters. Yes. So during his Hajj, as I just mentioned, he famously wrote about seeing Muslims of all races praying side by side in unity. And that convinced him that Islam could solve the race problem here in America. Yes. He was disciplined, he had self-respect, and he used prayer, fasting, giving in charities, avoiding harmful habits. He used that to be disciplined, to have dignity, to respect himself and also to respect others. And that's what Islam taught him. And he taught him about justice, freedom, liberation, because he believed in fighting injustice and oppression. And as Muslims, we are supposed to enjoin the good, forbid the evil. Yes, and Islam taught him to do that. Not with hatred, but with justice. Yes, and the Quran commands us to stand firm for the truth, even if it's against our own selves. Yes, indeed. The brotherhood in Islam is absolutely amazing. And he realized that, and he knew that Islam was universal. And it wasn't just for one race, one ethnic group, one country, no. And he saw Muslims from every culture, and they were united under one God, Allah, the God of Adam, Abraham, Moses, Jacob, Isaac, Ishmael. Yes. So yes, in short, Malcolm X chose Islam because it gave him a pure connection to God, global brotherhood, justice without hatred, and a way of life that transformed his heart and his mind. And up to today, 2025, you just say the name Malcolm X and people are so happy and joyful. He was an amazing man. He died a martyr, and he will be in the company of the righteous in Jannah, inshallah, by the grace, mercy of God. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. I really appreciate you. So this was episode 2 of the series all about Islam. It was about Malcolm X, why he embraced Islam, how he went to Mecca and saw the unity of Islam, the brotherhood, the Muslims shoulder to shoulder praying together. No racism, no nationalism, no hatred. Thank you so much for being here, and the next episode is going to be about an amazing prophet of God. He is known here as Jesus Christ, but his mother named him Isa. So I will be reading a little bit about his story in this pamphlet. Stay tuned for episode 3 of this amazing new series all about Islam. Thank you so much. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Niyama, and this is Learn with Nia YouTube channel.